Welcome to NFL Daily, where the AFC is looking a whole lot like it looked 20 years ago. I'm Gregg Rosenthal here in the Chris Wesseling podcast studio. And Jourdan Rodrigue smiling. Patrick Claybon's wearing a beautiful tie.
Oh, thanks, Greg.
And I'm not just talking about the Patriots, and I'm here too. I'm just looking at the top of the AFC, and you see Indianapolis, and you see Denver, and you see the Patriots, and you go over to the NFC, as well, and it's like it's dominated by the NFC West. I don't know. It just feels a lot like 20 years ago to me over there in the AFC.
It's a tradition all over the place as the blue bloods of the NFL remain at the top.
What a fun day we had in the newsroom today, guys.
It was a lot. It was a lot of happening. Teams caught up when they were behind because that's what happens in football games. And we're going to talk about all of it. I struggled picking the start of this week's slate because there were a lot of really interesting games, and I didn't know what was the game of the day. And you guys convinced me that it was Patriots Bucs. So I don't look like a homer by going along with what you said. Let's go to Tampa.
May under center, second down, and 9+ from the 31. High formation, toss left. Henderson has it. Travion gets outside. Goodbye to the 50, to the 40, to the 30, to the 20, to the 10, to the house. Touchdown, Patriots. There's your ball game.
8-2, baby. Start the buses. We're coming back home on a short week. We need some sleep tonight. And we ain't getting any. Because sleep's for losers. We said that before. We are back, man. 8-2. Man.
Oh, Scott Zolak making me regret my decision to start with the Patriots. Right off the bat, Patriots go down to Tampa, and they say, stop talking about strength of schedule, Greg. The two best teams, we faced in the last 5 or 6 weeks, they got the W, and they got it on the road, 28-23. Patriots hold on in Tampa. And yes, it was Travion Henderson on a day where no Ramondre Stevenson and Terrell Jennings, who's getting all the carries early in the game, gets hurt. So they just got to go with Travion Henderson. And you know what? That's a pretty good idea. When I think about the big picture of this Patriot season and this win in particular, I think what you got to like from a team building perspective is this was a team that was old and slow at various points, and now they're young and explosive. You get the 2 huge plays from Travion Henderson. You get the young guys on the offensive line who didn't have a perfect day, but considering it was against Todd Bowles and everything, only took 1 sack on the day. You have an explosive young quarterback, obviously. Kyle Williams has the explosive play. And then the guys you brought in the offseason, so many of them had crucial roles in this win, especially Milton Williams, Kayvon Chaisson. And I think it was a complete victory because it's not all just about Drake May. This was a day, Patrick, where he had some throw of the year candidates, multiple maybe, and he had some groaners, a killer interception that allowed the Bucs back into this game and made some big mistakes, but their defense picked up Drake May, and the running game at the end picked up Drake May when they needed it.
And something that lends to what you've talked about for 2 years now, where it wasn't Drake May being the only thing that mattered today. They needed those explosive plays in the run game because this Bucs team, which gets a lot of pressure, they got to Drake May in under pressure. He was 4 of 13 for 167 yards. He did have that 1 touchdown to Kyle Williams, who made a great adjustment on a ball where May was hit as he threw, and he wound up finishing that play and getting it into the paint. But we saw this be a complete Patriots team, have a complete performance against a good team coming off the bye on the road. And yeah, to all the college football weird criticism of strength of schedule, it's the
maybe that's on me.
We don't need a committee at this point.
No, I get it, but I do think schedule explains a lot in the NFL, and they have 3 more cupcakes after this too. But they have been consistent, weirdly, in how they win these games. You look at success rate in this game, their running game was terrible for most of the day. But that's why explosive plays matter more. Travion ends up with 147 yards, most of them on those 2 long touchdowns. The rest of the day, they couldn't get anything done on the ground. But that's kind of how they've played all year, is just hitting a handful of explosives. Usually it's in the passing game, and they got a couple of those today with Matt Collins and Kyle Williams.
Yeah, and important that a couple of those came in the run game, specifically against one of the better run defenses in the NFL. And I feel like this was such a cool game for Drake May, if you are Drake May, because yes, to your point, while I would say the majority of this game looked really sharp, really crisp. He looked like the same quarterback we've been seeing who's among the highest in the league in completion percentage right now and making tight window throws and pushing the ball down the field. There were a couple plays that he wants back, but in those moments, the rest of the team prior to, as opposed to last year, and certainly what the stinkers some of these rosters have been in the past couple of years, the rest of the roster stepped up and complimented around him. And you really see that. And you mentioned the passing game, Greg. I think their run game obviously still work in progress. But in the passing game specifically, the layers that Josh McDaniels and the rest of that offensive staff have built into the passing game, there is an over for every under. There is an under for every over. They're peeling defenders off of each other and creating leverage matchups, creating one-on-ones to advantage. And everybody's running really crisply. Even the big, older tight ends are coming back to the ball with really explosive movements. And you've got to feel really good about this if you're Drake May seeing this.
So let's throw it to that throw of the year candidate that I brought up earlier, the 54-yarder to Mac Hollins.
3rd down, 14. Gets him breathing different. May is flanked by Henry Wright. Henderson left. He takes the snap. 4-man rush. Drake is back. He launches a long ball. Firing down the right side. He's got an open man. Hollins makes the catch and stride at the 15. Tackled inside the 10. A perfect throw by Drake May under the red gloves of Mac Hollins. 1st and goal to go at the 8.
And he gets croaked. Absolutely croaked again on the release this May. But he hangs in there and throws a freaking dive to Mac Hollins on the go route down the right boundary.
Yeah, Zion McCollum in coverage there does not expect Mac Hollins, who essentially acts as a tight end for this team and made the key block on one of the Travion Henderson touchdowns, the first 55-yard run, which was in the 3rd quarter. Hollins playing more because no Kayshon Boutte in this game. Christian Gonzalez also a good game, gives up only 3 catches to Emeka Egbuka on 9 targets. Egbuka still got his. It was great to see him fully healthy. He went 6 for 115 overall. But yeah, a balanced game. I thought Baker, he played pretty well in this game. If you're a Bucs fan, you get Luke Gedeke back. I think it's a very frustrating loss for them because their pass rush was better. Their run game, even though they miss Bucky Irving, Sean Tucker was really good in short yardage situations. They had a much higher success rate. I thought they protected Baker better, but they lost around the margins in general. I want to get your thoughts, guys, on the Mike Vrabel decision late in the first half. I think it kind of was the key to the game in the end. That late in the first half, they're driving. There's about 1:40 to go, and 1st and goal inside the 5. They're around the 3-yard line. They have Drake May take a dive after the Bucs use all their timeouts to basically burn clock and waste the 1st down play with Drake May when they're basically on the goal line. Extremely interesting strategy I have never seen before. And then the Patriots can't score on the next 2 plays. And it's typical of what they did all day. They could not run on short yardage. And then here's what great players do. They just bail out their coaches because Drake May and Stephon Diggs had an incredible 4th down touchdown. They get the touchdown there. They get the touchdown on the other side of halftime, and suddenly they get that 14-point Belichickian sandwich. What do you think about this strategy, Patrick?
Well, Greg, it could be process-oriented and criticize the decision to waste it down and then wind up targeting Antoine Winfield Jr. on the back shoulder with Stephon Diggs where he's having to fend the ball off and get 2 feet down. Or you could be results-oriented and say, 6 points New England, clearly it was the right decision. I lean towards process.
Yeah, but most coaches in this league are results oriented, so you're probably going to have a recency bias on that one a little bit, or a confirmation bias.
I don't know if many coaches have the stones to try that. That was wild.
You know what? I don't mind trying to manipulate the clock. I do think that trying to run the ball in short yardage against one of the best short yardage run defenses in the NFL is probably where things start to go a little bit sideways. And you could tell how much situational coaching that this group is getting week over week. With Mike Vrabel, you kind of knew it was a given, and he's got John Stryker on that staff as well. And so obviously they're going to hammer this every single week. to the point where maybe some people are overthinking things, like Travion Henderson, who's looking to the sideline to see if he should still keep running and scoring a touchdown on that second touchdown. While he's running.
He did wait till like the 3-yard line.
Because you're just like, crap, what was it we talked about this week earlier in the meetings? And then looking over to the sideline. Like, that's how you can tell they're thinking a lot about these types of things. So I'm tickled by all of it. It worked out for him. Probably wouldn't have worked out, 5 out of other 10 times they tried it.
Yeah, that Stephon Diggs catch was awesome, and he goes 5 for 46. He has been so valuable for this team, even beyond the statistics. It is really outrageous. My thing on that play was I wouldn't do it, but if you had just run the ball, it would have happened naturally anyways.
Yeah.
They tried about 10 different runs up the middle in short yardage situations, and I think they failed about 9 times anyways, including the next 2 plays. So just run the ball. If you happen to have scored, just take it. But I get it. They did not want to give the ball back to Baker.
With like 12 seconds to go.
No, it would have been like 1 minute and 30 seconds left if they had scored on the first down play.
And
or minute 40.
Normally, Baker Mayfield can, make crazy things happen with 1 minute and 30 seconds left to play, unfortunately.
I think it's a good problem to have if you score a touchdown with 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Yeah.
It is worth pointing out to
Yes.
what you said there.
Yes, it is. In football, Patrick.
Yes.
We would have been talking about this game
Back and forth.
much differently if Baker Mayfield had led one of his patented fourth quarter, Baker ball drives here. I was expecting
Don't you do it.
I was expecting
Don't you do it. I saw you give the look. Don't do it. Baker ball keeps on rolling, baby. Baker ball keeps
Okay,
on
stop.
rolling, baby. Stop.
They had a chance to go up 8. Instead, he forces a ball into the end zone with about 5 minutes left. Tyke Smith, who's been awesome this year, makes an incredible interception. And I kind of just felt like Baker Mayfield would drive the ball down the field, but their defense has really gotten better, and it was pass rush by Milton Williams and Caleb Chase, and in a good secondary right now with their 3 cornerbacks. So credit to the Patriots defense for holding them off. The Patriots took a bigger lead than expected in the AFC East because, yes, the upset of the day happened down in Miami.
H.N. the pistol back. They pitch it to him. Left
there he
side.
goes.
And there he goes. He's gone. 20, 10, 5. Touchdown, Miami.
H.N. have a day. Oh, my gosh. There he's untouched. I don't think he never got the full speed on that one. He didn't need to.
Devon Achane, he's taking it easy on his way into the end zone. The Dolphins ended up taking it easy in the fourth quarter of this game. 30-13 over the Buffalo Bills, who fall to 6-3. Yes, they are a game and a half behind the Patriots. Dolphins improve to 3-7. Achane with 174 yards on the ground and a couple touchdowns. And oh, by the way, just adds another 51 through the air with 6 catches, becoming one of the fantasy pickups of the year. Patrick, how was this so one-sided?
Well, this was one-sided because it's a familiar thing that we've talked about with the Buffalo Bills on defense where, yes, it was a great performance against Kansas City where you could say the type of skill player that Kansas City has that's not Rashee Rice, you don't get the level of production that you get like in games we've seen where Bijan Robinson is running all the Buffalo Bills, like the game Puka Nacua had against the Buffalo Bills and Sean McDermott's defense in SoFi Stadium last year. And Jalen Waddle and Devon Achane present a particular problem in terms of explosiveness and ability after the catch and after contact that we've seen the Bills struggle to deal with, and especially in stacked boxes today, when Buffalo was loading up against the Miami run game. 8 or more defenders in the box, 7 carries for 74 yards for Devon.
Wow.
10.6 yards per carry against stacked boxes. And over on the other side, how rough it has to be for Bills fans who, coming up to the trade deadline, have dreams of all these receivers, even within the division, thinking, oh, but it could be a fire sale in Miami. We get Jalen Waddle. No, they have to deal with covering him instead, while Josh Allen has the longest time to throw in this season. And you got to go back a couple of years in his career in a single game where you just wonder if the Bills, whether it's a Joe Brady issue, whether it's a talent issue in terms of separating, they did not get the game they needed from their receivers. Even when they did get something going late, it was too little.
Tom Pelissero of NFL Media reported this morning that the Bills were the most aggressive team in trying to go get Jalen Waddle, which is a fascinating fork in the road moment. But either Miami didn't want to trade him in the division, or they just needed a first-round pick plus, which I would have held out for that too for a guy that good.
I hearken back to the summer and the early fall when Brandon Beane was like downright angry about reporters continuing to ask about receivers and bringing in receiver help, and will you potentially trade for a receiver, and then reportedly making this much of a push for a receiver who could be a true one in your offense is admitting, to the fact that it's a glaring need and a very obvious one.
Jourdan just sticking the knife into Beane. Maybe it's not a knife.
I mean, he was on that radio call.
I like it. It was a good call.
And I'm sure he was proud of his performance on that radio call, which is it's kind of
it was solid.
That,
it was
that folks will bring up. But then, you look over on the celebratory aspects that they were able to have with Maxwell Hairston, where Jalen Waddle gave him all kinds of problems, and maybe relying on the rookie coming back from that LCL sprain in just his third game in one-on-one situations with Jalen Waddle kind of highlights why they needed Hairston in the first place.
Let's give some important context in terms of the Bills' injuries. They got through that Chiefs game, and sometimes I feel like the whole Chiefs offseason is all about, the Bills offseason is all about like figuring out ways to stop the Chiefs, and they are good at that. But they get through that game playing well, and they were not healthy. Teron Johnson, their great slot corner, out for this game. Christian Benford, out for this game. Michael Hoyt, we've mentioned, is out for the season. A.J. Epinesa, their pass rusher, out for this game. They lose Landon Jackson, their rookie defensive lineman, during the game. Josh Palmer was also out on offense. So especially on the defensive side, they're not fighting fair. And yet on the offensive side, they're healthy enough. And there was like a 4th and 1 play early in this game, Jourdan, that to me was very typical, where it's like they're rolling Josh Allen out and they're just making it harder than it needs to be. And he's out back there forever, to your point about the time to throw. And he's throwing the ball like super deep on a 4th and 1. And you're thinking, you got James Cook. Like, they were shut out in the first half of this game for the first time in more than 2 years.
Yeah. More often than not, when I clicked over to this game, it seemed like they were pressing too hard on offense, almost squeezing the puppy too tightly. You got to back off a little bit.
Don't squeeze any puppies here.
No, that's what I'm saying. Don't.
We love our puppies.
Don't do it. It's uncomfortable, right? And this is a team. The Bills were 14-2 against the Dolphins, and you kept seeing these cut to shots of Josh Allen on the sideline, just looking like he couldn't believe what was happening to them. And certainly, the Dolphins just parted ways with Jalen Phillips, for example, and yet their defense suddenly is looking better than it had. The Dolphins' offense has been without Tyreek Hill for a while, and obviously had that front office shakeup, and then questions and calls coming in about not just their head coach and what his future is going to be, but questions about many of the players on the roster, questions about the quarterback. And this group looks better. It is almost functionality out of chaos, which is a little worrying long term for like stress levels and the heart, for example, but heart health, for example. But I feel like this is such a shock and a wake up call to the Bills, as depleted as they are on the defensive side. There has to be some tough conversations that happen now.
Well, there's also the oblong nature of the spheroid that went the opposite way for Buffalo and has gone the opposite way for the Dolphins for most of the season.
Yeah.
Where James Cook's knee is a fraction of an inch from being down. Ball gets poked out on a promising run. He actually averaged north of 5 yards a carry. Josh Allen had what felt like a 16-yard run on a quarterback sneak, where it was just all sneak the whole way, and probably should have gone down after 15, but he has the ball get knocked out. He throws an interception in the red zone, is picked off by Melifonwu, who had solid coverage. It's just Josh trying to make a play, squeezing a ball in there. And so those turnovers, key, but just execution for Miami, best they've had since the game against the Falcons.
And I know Tua ended up with 2 interceptions, so it wasn't a clean game in the end, but that was a dime, that touchdown to Waddle, and he had some very nice throws in this game. So give him some love. They put 30 points on the Bills, get their 3rd win of the season. All right, that's our AFC East update for the day. Let's head out to the NFC West, where it felt like this Rams 49ers game had a chance to be kind of the appetizer for the Rams Seahawks game next week. But really, to make that game as good as it can be, the Rams had to go and they had to even the score and take care of business in Santa Clara.
What are you thinking? Play action pass here?
If you really want to deliver the kill shot, sure.
Matthews under center, corner to single back. Davis Allen motions from the right side. It is play action. Stafford ready to deal. He throws, no look, left side. Alone Parkinson. He can walk right in. Touchdown, Colby Parkinson. And Matthew Stafford sticks the dagger in San Francisco.
Oh, like Jourdan Rodrigue to Brandon Beane. Oh, what a great call there by MJD. Setting his partner up with a great question before, and he nailed it. JB Long on KSPN, 42-26. The Rams win, and how fitting, Jourdan, that a tight end kicks off our Rams discussion, because you were geeking out about the tight end usage today.
I know. Aren't you sick of me by now, Greg, sitting next to you and just freaking out over 13 personnel sitting next to you in the cube?
You did have a long rant about 13 personnel while this game was starting. I'm like, the Texans are in the middle of the craziest comeback I've ever seen. Like right now, I don't need to hear about the first quarter of this 4:05 game or whatever's going on.
Yeah, you're like, my game's still going. My game's still going. My game's still going. It was great. Okay, the caveat here, and yes, 49ers fans, and I'm so sorry, and I hear you. Your team is so injured. Your defense is so injured. You may, perhaps for a minute there's a worry that you're going to lose Tatum Bethune again, another inside linebacker who came back into the game. Yes, that is the big caveat here. But the thing that is a truth here is that the Rams look like a Super Bowl team.
Woo!
But the thing about this Rams offense that is different from its previous iteration of its Super Bowl winning team, besides being homegrown and not picks for players and all of that, is how much deeper their schematic options can go. This is no longer an 11 personnel, all the time, dominant, we do not deviate team. This isn't even a 12 personnel team, so 2 receivers, 2 tight ends offense. This is actually, it skipped right past, and Sean McVay's taped his foot around the gas pedal, and it is a 13 personnel, 3 tight ends on the field, 1 receiver team. And you saw this today at a 44% rate. 44.8% of their plays were 13 personnel for 6.73 yards per play and a 63% success rate, plus 4 of the 6 total touchdowns that they put up on the 49ers today. This was their most productive personnel grouping of the game, beyond 11 personnel, beyond 12 personnel. And yes, again, it came against a really, really banged up 49ers team, but this is a schematically diverse and multiple Rams offense that is really hard to defend because they can hit you with probably the deepest tight ends roster in the league.
And obviously that's helping to open up the pass game. And all 3 tight ends, too, were active. Ferguson has a 32-yard catch, and Higbee and Parkinson are both active with 3 or 4 catches over 30 yards each. But it's also helping the running game, where, to me, just when I saw this game, and then you look at the success rates comparing the 2 teams, and you look at Christian McCaffrey getting stuffed for 30 yards on 12 carries, like the Rams are the much better running team.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that has to kill Kyle Shanahan deep inside, that the Rams are like the running team between these 2 teams.
And we've got to a point where I was seeing Brian Robinson Jr. with early carries. It's 21-0. And I'm thinking, oh, this is a white flag from Kyle. Brian Robinson Jr. averaged twice as many yards per carry as Christian McCaffrey. And you kind of start to wonder if they're going to deploy their backs differently as the season goes on. Where CMC is clearly, like, far and away, one of the better players in terms of being involved in the pass game, not having success on the ground, and hasn't been for a while.
You pointed out something important, Greg, about their usage of these heavier personnels that I think makes it really tough for teams, more so than even having to figure out how this comes out to defend against the passing attack. Kyren Williams had almost 60% of his carries today out of 13 personnel, 50% success rate, 5.1 yards per carry, both touchdowns that he scored. When you're looking at the modern version of some of these heavy personnel teams, including even the Pittsburgh Steelers and certainly the Seahawks, what they do out of 12 personnel, they're building that heavier personnel specifically with the idea of passing the ball. The Rams started that way as well. You look at how some of the stats have shifted and some of the carry share has shifted into heavier personnel and in the heaviest of personnel, right? And you're looking at them building their run game around this as well, including having it be such a force and a factor in the pass game, to the point where, you know, Devontae Adams leaves the game with a back injury after scoring, you know, his 8th touchdown and 8 red zone catches, and they just shift immediately over to 13, and it's like they don't even lose a step. And it sort of like makes you remember, oh yeah, Devontae Adams and Matthew Stafford are having an incredible season. So if Puka Nacua is down, Devontae Adams is up. And I want to take a look at that touchdown and listen to it because it was just what's becoming a vintage moment between the two.
Second down and goal from the 2. Helmet high snap. Looking left. Throws that way. And it's caught for a touchdown. Devontae Adams. Touchdown LA. Knocks over a videographer with a 27-14 lead. Shaken up but good to go. Devontae Adams continues his streak. He leads the NFL with 9 receiving touchdowns.
Now that I'm looking at that, I'm wondering if that's where his back injury happened because he hit that camera pretty hard.
So they updated after the game that they're calling it an oblique now, and they said they thought he could have possibly returned to the game. So we'll see about his status for next week. But it's very typical Rams to change the injury after the game. But great release. You have him lined up on Malik Mustafa, and it was just a vintage Adams release off the line of scrimmage, and he just wins quickly. And yeah, a storyline early in the season was how they couldn't get it going in the red zone really to Devontae. They were forcing it, and now he is absolutely dominating. Before we leave this game, I do want to just introduce the idea publicly of the Mac Jones Brock Purdy scale. I mean, because man, Mac Jones only had 6 incompletions in this game. He goes over 300 yards. He throws 3 touchdowns. Like, he did his work. And the more I watch Mac Jones, baby, the more I watch him in this offense, he's really adding something to the table. And I said to you, Patrick, and you thought it was obvious, so I felt good about that. That
Greg misquoting Patrick.
No. I'm not misquoting. I said the average Mac Jones game at this point has been
does that feel like?
At a higher level than the average Jimmy Garoppolo game for the 49ers.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
And so Mac Jones, you know that game when you're at like the carnival of you're hitting, you're trying to hit it and the guy's like climbing up the hill a little bit. Like if you're on the scale of like an average quarterback in a Kyle Shanahan system, maybe like replacement level, it's Nick Mullins. And then you're going up the level and there's Jimmy Garoppolo. Mac Jones has now passed Jimmy Garoppolo and he's getting reasonably close to Brock Purdy. Like he's behind him, but he's getting close.
Yeah. My only issue with that part is it starts by invoking Brock Purdy. And we don't need Brock to say that Mac has surpassed Jimmy Garoppolo on the Kyle Shanahan quarterback scale.
Yeah.
That's a fine discussion. I just think we don't need to invoke Brock.
I'm just saying it's getting closer. That's all. Reportedly, he could be back next week, and Kyle Shanahan even said after the game that he thinks Brock Purdy could have been the backup today. And was very close to being ready to go, and they wanted him 100% before he returns. And I have a feeling now 6-4 that will be next week for the 49ers. All right, let's move on to Berlin, where we were hoping for a good one, and we got one. We sent the international fans home happy. We also got to hear a little bit more of Will Gavin this season.
Ball goes to Taylor, bounce to the outside, down to the 5, 4, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor, his 3rd of the day, as he goes for over 230 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a walk-off for the Indianapolis Colts in Berlin, who moved to 8-2 on the season after his sensational day. The entire 53, every coach, everybody on the field is gathered around Jonathan Taylor, who has carried this team to victory on German soil.
What a day for Jonathan Taylor, what a day for Berlin, and what a result for the Colts.
Oh, that's Ollie Connolly helping out Will Gavin on TalkSport. I was driving into work when I heard that call, and I thought, well, I'm going to hear that call again later today. That was awesome. 31-25. Yes, Jonathan Taylor carried the ball 32 times today for 244 yards. If you had told me that his 83-yard run in the fourth quarter to take the lead was not going to be like the call of the game, and we will hear it, I just wouldn't have believed it. This was a performance, I think, Patrick, that could send shockwaves into the MVP conversation formula that you've been working on.
It already has.
Okay, let's hear it.
It already has to give a preview, and Greg's asking for it. Greg is a part of the scoring and integral part when you have access to the mind of a Gregg Rosenthal. Jonathan Taylor, despite having negative points to come into week 10 because he doesn't play quarterback, has now surpassed his own quarterback in senior dimes in the conversation because Daniel Jones, despite getting 5 points for leading the league in passing yardage coming into the week, does not get the points for a quality primetime performance. Gregg scoring the negative dimes game with the turnovers.
Well, that's tough.
And so Jonathan Taylor supersedes his quarterback. And I think we have a precedent set here where if you're going to score in the conversation against your teammate, one guy has to have a clearly better game than the other.
Yeah.
And that's clearly Jonathan Taylor, so no points for Don.
Well, I think the fact that it happened in an island game and everyone could see that, yes, Daniel Jones is important and made plays. That's why I feel bad about saying negative because, he had that 3rd and 14 to set up the game-tying field goal right before the end of regulation.
The run. That
was important. A number of scrambles to get to 53 yards on the ground. They did fall behind in this game, but you also can't ignore the sequence where he had an interception and 3 fumbles in about a 5, possession sequence. That's not ideal.
Starting to worry about the fumbling a little bit. Just saying, we know this has been a problem before. I have no doubt that with this group around him of really talented people and coaches, like that can get cleaned up. But I'm noticing. Not judging yet. I am noticing.
And there were a ton of free rushers on him. He only lost one of those fumbles. But to me, if you fumble it, that's just as bad. It's luck whether you get it back or not. Their offensive line really struggled to identify rushers for the second straight week. So that's something for their team to clean up during the bye. That's not necessarily on Daniel Jones because, man, he was under pressure quickly a lot of plays.
And that's why perhaps the biggest gift of this week of NFL football was on the final drive in regulation for the Indianapolis Colts. Jeff Ulbrich sends blitzes on 1st and 2nd down to force a 3rd and 21. And then they have a 4-man rush where Daniel Jones is able to run and pick up 19 of those yards. And then on 4th down, they bring back the blitz. Jones has MPJ on the hot read wide open to the top of the screen. Instead, he decides to use the force to Tyler Warren, who has a defender all over him, but somehow fits the ball in there for the 1st down, which, hey, we're results-oriented. Great decision.
Well, I agree with you, but Tyler Warren is such a beast, and I believe it was Jesse Bates there in coverage, and he just, at this point, trusting Tyler Warren to moss anyone on the biggest play of their season, because if you don't complete that, the game's over. Falcons win. It's not a bad decision. Tyler Warren makes the catch, and and he also turns in upfield and makes the play. Man, he has a good feel of like where the defenders are going to be after he makes these catches.
There was a quiet battle going on between Daniel Jones and Jesse Bates for the entire game. Obviously, Jesse Bates was super aggressive on the ball when in coverage, but also they were sending him in some of these creepers, so looking like you're going to blitz, but then not actually blitzing. And they were sending him on some of these pressure looks where on one of the turnovers that Jalen Walker forced a fumble, James Pierce Jr. forced the fumble this week. It was the reverse last week, and Jalen Walker scooped it up. Daniel Jones was looking at Jesse Bates coming off to his right the entire time. He wasn't even clocking what was going on to his left, and it was basically a free rush right at him. Ended up being a turnover. They were going back and forth all game. I thought it was really, really cool to watch. The score, to me, on the Colts side does not necessarily show how much fun this Atlanta Falcons defense is sometimes to watch. And yes, some of the calls when they'll make the right call for 2 of the downs and then be like, where'd it go on the 3rd down? But this defense has come so much further than I expected them to in 1 year under Jeff Ulbrich.
I think this game was, and they're playing one of the best offenses in the league, is kind of typical of what this Falcons defense is, which is they're a big play defense, kind of going against a big play offense. But they give up a lot of big plays. They don't have enough of a consistent pass rush, but the secondary is good, and they lose Robert Alford, early in this game. Alford? I'm confusing my Alfords that have played for the Falcons. 500 yards for the Colts in this game, and yet I blame this game on the Falcons offense. Really, the defense has more than done its job all season long. But in a game where, the Colts pick up a new kicker, they miss a kick short and miss an extra point early. They have 0 third down conversions through the first 3 quarters of this game. Like I mentioned, they had the 4 fumbles. They had 2 failed 4th down potential conversions deep into Falcons territory, where I think they were almost afraid to let the kicker kick, and they also made sense at the time. They had the interception. All of that happened on the other side of the ball. And yet, the Colts kept having the ball down 4 points with a chance to win the game. This Falcons offense should have put this game away earlier, and they were just horrific on third downs. On dropbacks on third downs, Michael Penix completed 1 of 5 passes for 4 yards. He took 3 sacks and fumbled the ball away. They had negative 31 yards on those 8 dropbacks. And in a game where there's no DeForest Buckner, it's not like the Colts had a great pass rush in this game. Their passing game, I think, is killing them.
Yeah, the offense is driving me nuts. Don't think I did not notice Mike McDaniel running Achane out of the pistol for huge production today, by the way. Just in case, backup plan in case some shuffling happens.
There was a weird under center play by Michael Penix in this game, and I was like, ooh, and then it was the only one.
Just in case Atlanta's in the market, this offseason, just in case some things move around. But yeah, I remain absolutely infuriated at times by this offense, and a lot of the passing game is just predicated on what can Drake London do.
6 for 104 and a touchdown.
6 for 104 and a touchdown.
Do a lot.
He had a hat trick last week, but they lack so much dimension in other areas of their pass game. And yes, Bijan went for 84 yards on 17 attempts, so 4.9 per attempt, but it was so start, stop. And then he's completely a non-factor in the game within the red zone.
Well, in overtime, I do think players not plays, and it's one drive in overtime, and it's a very short drive. It ends up being 5 plays. And, it's Darnell Mooney, who had a killer drop in regulation, 8 targets to Mooney for 1 catch. And it's Algier a lot at the end of this game, and they didn't get Drake London a target at the end of the game, where in overtime, who did Daniel Jones throw to? Tyler Warren. It was all Tyler Warren, and you trust your best players.
Yeah, and there's so many situations where you look back. We've talked about the Falcons' inability to use the middle of the field in the passing game, and then they had a great opportunity. David Sills got 1 target today, and it was a nasty miss by Penix, where you at this point in the season, it can't just be Zach Robinson. It takes a village to have a passing game.
It takes a village to ruin an offense.
And you got to put the blame on 9 on some of these. I understand they don't use the middle of the field a lot. David Sills and his connection maybe be non-existent, but you could meet strangers.
Not 9 that suits up for the Vikings, the alter ego 9. This is Michael Penix.
Actual quarterback who plays for the Atlanta Falcons, who wears number 9, to my knowledge, only is one person.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. He was inaccurate for a lot of the day. He finishes 12 for 28, and he was getting a lot of negative texts from Nick Wessling to me. Just I've never thought Michael Penix had it. He doesn't have it. There's not enough, oomph, and
But that's the thing. He does the things that Michael Penix Jr. is good at are very difficult to do. It's difficult.
I'm not seeing it
enough. He needs to develop an easy button.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they can
play action passing to the middle of the field, run dagger for Christ's sake.
And some of it's on the coaches too, because this team cannot get plays off in time. How many plays? There were literally 2 drives that were ended because Michael Penix was not ready for the snap because they had to snap it too quick, and he's walking up and they're running out of time. And so I don't know if the plays call is getting in late, but just the operation is just rough. They're 3-6. A lot of questions for the Falcons going into their bye. The Colts are at 8-2. Man, they are feeling better going into their bye. And before we say goodbye to this game, let's actually go to break by listening to Will Gavin again, because we got to hear that touchdown call. Remember, the Falcons were winning this game in the fourth quarter, 17-13. They give up a field goal drive, then they got stopped for a 3-and-out, and then Jonathan Taylor takes over.
Under centre now, Daniel Jones has Pittman going in motion, has Jonathan Taylor in the backfield, gives it to Taylor up the middle, gets the yardage needed for the first down, maybe a yard more. He's out to the outside, they haven't brought him down, out to 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. Taylor can go all the way here. He's got 2 blockers, he's going to go all the way. 10, 5, touchdown, Colts! Jonathan Taylor, unbelievable! And with that, he breaks Edgerrin James' Indianapolis Colts rushing touchdown record. This man is special indeed, and he's carrying this team to what could now be an 8-2 record.
Ravens to the line. 1st and goal at the 2. Lamar steps back into the shotgun. Spreads 3 receivers to the right. Lamar takes the snap, rolls to the right, throws to the back of the end zone. Touchdown! Mark Andrews! And the Ravens extend their lead with 10:40 left to play in Minnesota.
They extend it, they did, and they hold on 27-19. The Ravens win their third straight game to get to 4-5. Same record that the Vikings have in the loss. Patrick, they were just knocking on the door all day, settling for field goals all day. The Ravens finally break through, get a touchdown early in the third quarter from Justice Hill. And I got to say, from the outside, and you can tell me, as the one who wore some purple today, it felt like the Ravens defense is keeping them in this game and waiting for the offense to hold up.
Shout out to Vanessa in wardrobe picking this outfit for me. I had no say or other. She literally had to help me button the collar because I didn't know that it actually buttoned.
You know what's sad is I have no idea.
Oh,
yeah. Nice.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's sad. I would have no idea that it's purple, but I know it because Jourdan said it earlier. So I'm just copying.
This is in the range of the spectrum where I just, whatever somebody says it is,
same.
It's dangerous because my wife will be like, "That's magenta" or whatever, and I'm out.
You feel the pain of the colorblind community. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I stand in solidarity.
He's
with
an
you,
empath.
But generally been feeling pain regarding this Baltimore Ravens defense, where they've gotten 7 turnovers in the last 3 games. They get enough from Tyler Loop. I know there are those who may be seated at this table with me who are oppositional to kicking field goals, but they give you 3 points, and you are allowed, based on the rules, to keep those 3 points for the duration of the game.
Football.
And so, it's a back and forth game, Jourdan. Where
sometimes when you're like way ahead, though, the other team can come back, and that's how
they
it
can.
goes.
They can. But when you get Marlon Humphrey picking off J.J. McCarthy as he did on what was essentially a punt where Justin Jefferson fell down. Justin Jefferson, I believe, finished with 13 targets and 4 catches in this game, where Zach Orr executed the plan pretty much almost to perfection, where there was an opportunity for a 2-point conversion after a late touchdown from Jalen Naylor, where Nate Wiggins was arguing for a pass interference call, which is okay not to do during the play, though. Which allowed Jalen Naylor with a late touchdown that gave the Vikings a little bit of hope. They went for 2. But you just saw the way the bracket coverage was designed on Justin Jefferson to limit him, and Chidobe Awuzie had a break up there. But, the Ravens continue to excel on play action. That touchdown pass to Mark Andrews, I will fight those at NGS who say that is not a play action play, despite having Lamar sprint out to the right, and where the entire Vikings defense is looking at him and not Mark Andrews on the back line. But a solid performance where, they could have been successful in the red zone a little bit more. But all you need to do is get enough to win against a solid team on the road, is a team that's playing a lot better than they were a few weeks ago.
They're stacking different types of performances. The offense hasn't been like as consistent, as explosive as maybe you would expect, but this is a very difficult matchup, and eventually they broke through. Let's actually listen to that McCarthy interception that you referred to. He had a couple of them today.
Vikings 3 of 7 on 3rd down. This is 3rd and short. 2 tight ends, they're balanced, offset eye right. McCarthy on 3rd and 1's going to pass from under center. He's going to go deep. Jefferson fell, and Marlon Humphrey picked it off at the 5-yard line. The veteran Marlon Humphrey heads up the field, lays a lead to the 15. Now he sprints 20-25, and J.J. McCarthy has thrown 2 interceptions.
Oh.
Wow, Paul.
Both interceptions when targeting Justin Jefferson also.
Pete Bursich on the call there, along with Paul Allen on KFAN, going, "What are you doing?" in the middle of that call.
I mean, right out of his hands, Pete was asking, "What are we doing?"
And that's why I know Jefferson fell. And I saw some critical tweets in Vikings Blue Sky about Jefferson today, that he had a couple of plays that he normally would have made. You don't normally hear that, but an up and down game from J.J. McCarthy, where great first drive again, and a couple really good throws, but also some plays where he looked very young, including the end of game situation. They had the ball back down 8 with a chance to go, possibly try to tie and win the game. And that 2-minute situation seemed to overwhelm McCarthy.
Well, it seemed to overwhelm you too, Greg.
It was a tough one to watch. If you just like good ball, I mean, he's just like throwing the ball in the middle of the field and sliding down.
Taking forever to make decisions, too.
He just wasn't ready for that moment.
And it also gives credence to the defenders of the 3-man rush, where on the 4th down, the Ravens decide to rush 3, much to my chagrin, as I'm on TV watching this take place. But they come through, and JJ throws to Aaron Jones late, where Jones is having to try to make a diving grab, and it was too little, too late.
Well, I think the thing that bothers you about that clip is that's a play where J.J. McCarthy has absolutely perfect protection.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more the decision that feels like it was made before the play instead of basing it on what you're seeing in terms of coverage down the field. And there was no need to rush that throw.
But also, as a play caller, right, as much as I love Kevin O'Connell, you have a 3rd and 1 in that situation, and you have Justin Jefferson running that route. Like,
Yeah,
it's kind of what you want JJ to look for.
Yeah, he took it. He talked about it post game where they were showing a zero look, so he knew that Justin Jefferson was automatically going to have distance against the defender. So I think all of this can be true at once. If you are on a 3rd and 1 with a quarterback who's kind of been up and down a little bit to that point in the game, who was spiraling a little bit after the first interception, you definitely are going to maybe like run the ball. But if you're facing all of that down low into the box, and if you're facing a zero look like that, like Kevin O'Connell was talking about, and you know one of the best receivers on the planet is going to have a step, you just really need to make the throw. You have to execute the throw no matter what the call is. On the converse, a lot of talk going into this game about Lamar Jackson versus the blitz, highest passer rating in the NFL against the blitz, still was blitzed on 60% of his dropbacks for a touchdown, and was 8 for 18. So little hit or miss, 9 pressures, hit or miss. Doesn't say, I don't think it means anything here or there because they send blitzes in different ways, but still that high amount, that was Brian Flores committing to a game plan.
And you could see Monken trying to get the ball hard, they were throwing a lot of horizontal passes, one of which Jonathan Grenard seemingly went directly through both of his elbows on a pass to Zay Flowers. They were trying to mitigate that pressure from the Vikings pass rush a little bit, and we saw that in kind of play out in those stats that you mentioned. But, in the difference in the quarterbacking, when you didn't get the pressure, 8 made the plays, and 9...
Which 9?
There are a lot of 9s.
That's an interesting question.
So,
because was that actually 9 playing today, or was that J.J. McCarthy?
Okay, so for a little bit of context, J.J. McCarthy says his alter ego is 9. That's the quarterback who has taken all the anger from missing his rookie year and then missing a lot of time this year and bottled it up and used it for good, supposedly. But if 9 was out there today, that didn't seem like a good 9. And there are a lot of other 9s, so that's confusing too.
Yeah, but there's, in terms of J.J. McCarthy's 9 performance today, maybe that's the 9's the devil on the shoulder that's like, throw it deep to J.J. here.
Well, here are the other 9s. Okay, so Penix, struggle.
Yeah.
Stafford, maybe the MVP right now. Had a good day for your candidacy, Jordan. Bryce Young, a little bit of a struggle right now. And Burrow, not healthy. So the 9s, they're not 9ing.
Yeah, and we played in Berlin today. 9!
I really am so happy, by the way, that we gave Berlin like a banger. That was a fun game. I know we're so far off topic right now. Shout out to Patrick Ricard, by the way. While all these teams are going heavy, we got the old school Patrick Ricard on the field, making a big difference for the Baltimore Ravens. All 4-5 records, by the way, are not created equal. The Ravens 4-5, they feel like they got a chance here in this AFC North. The Vikings, on the other hand, with a very difficult schedule ahead, are 2 losses back of the 7 seed in the NFC, and the back of a few very good teams in the division, including the Detroit Lions, who are making some news on Sunday.
I formation behind Jared. He turns, hands it to Gibbs, running right, runs through a tackle, gets down to the 10, Gibbs to the 5, still fighting, down to the 2, down to the 1, to the end zone! Yes. Touchdown, Detroit Lions! He did not quit! Had a couple of his buddies in there pushing as well, and they pushed him right into the end zone for another score.
That was an incredible run by Jahmyr Gibbs. I know it's not like as long as like these Travion Henderson ones, or as long as the Jahmyr Gibbs one we'll hear in a second. But that's like one of the runs of the year. I'm giving a next Greg stats here that
NGS.
for when he had, from where he got the ball and where the defenders were, he had a 0.6%, 0.06% chance to get a touchdown. Actually, no one in the NFL other than Jahmyr Gibbs is scoring that touchdown. It's impossible. And I submit, as great as Bijan Robinson is, the more I watch Jahmyr Gibbs, I just think he is the best pure runner of the football, at least to my taste, in the NFL right now. Man, it's tough. I'm not saying complete player at this, that, but just as a runner, this guy is freaking ridiculous. One of the best pure runners I've ever seen.
Yes, and we could celebrate him without denigrating.
No, we have to compare and then rank.
No, we don't.
We have to pick one.
No, we don't.
I just did.
No, we refuse. Jourdan and I refuse to engage. Jahmyr Gibbs, special football player on a good team with a good play caller.
Yeah, let's talk about what the big story coming out of the game was, which was, Dan Campbell decided to take over play calling. Let's hear from Dan.
This is all encompassing, man, we all work together. Coaches did a hell of a job. But I just wanted to change it up a little bit. Let's just see if maybe a different play caller can maybe get us a little rhythm. That's all. And it honestly is nothing more than that. I know you're probably going to want to ask questions about, well, what about this? Or I heard this. It's not that. This was a change. We made a change. It was good for today.
It was great. 44-22. They scored every single possession until they finished out the game kneeling. That's crazy.
I just loved how the pitches of his voice changed. Where he's like, no, nothing is wrong. Don't you dare put on the internet that something is wrong.
We just made a little change, which is what 1,000 people said on July 14th, 1789, when they stormed the Bastille in Paris. Just made a little change. We just want to see switch it up a little bit.
I know what you're going to ask. Don't ask it.
Don't ask it.
John Morton taking artillery shells here. It reminds you of Dan Campbell's rookie season as a head coach. Why am I forgetting who his play caller was that he replaced in the middle
Anthony Lynn.
Of that season? Yeah. Anthony Lynn. And I don't think John Morton's going anywhere, but you saw Dan Campbell with those glasses looking at his play sheet.
Quite.
He's losing his vision. And the offense was awesome. Now, it was going against the Washington Commanders. So Dan Campbell was setting himself up for success, and it absolutely worked. What I saw a lot of was we're going to run Jameson Williams basically on the same route over and over again. And the Washington Commanders are not going to stop it one single time. And so we're going to dress it up with different formations, and we're just going to keep making it happen. 6 for 119 for Jameson Williams. Amon-Ra St. Brown had a couple catches and a regrettable touchdown celebration. And, a whole lot of Jahmyr Gibbs, who gets 142 yards on the ground with just some crazy individual efforts. It is fun to watch great quarterbacks and great offenses against this Commanders defense. Like, I know the Commanders defense stinks, but on the flip side, you get to watch them just make great football players look their greatest.
Yeah, I like when teams, and I don't like it for the other team. I'm sorry for the Commanders on that one, but I like when teams show their work. I like when teams try things and build things in game because they have the ability to do it. Whether it's a team that's going through a transition or a team that's just flat out doesn't have the guys like the Commanders right now. I like watching troubleshooting and game building. Like, I love watching those things in reason. We want competitive games here. This is the NFL after all. This is Roger Goodell's National Football League. We want competitive games. But I do love watching sort of you draw the different designs and then build off of them in the game like they did.
Right. Like, there was nothing. I felt bad for Mike Sanderstill at one point, who I think played pretty well in their secondary, was the best player in their secondary, but he's out there competing and everyone else is just getting filleted. Trey Amos left with an injury. The Commanders' offense really had no chance because, like I said, the Lions scored every single time they had the ball. 30 first downs and 546 yards in a game where they only had 8 real possessions before their kneel down. It is just outrageous efficiency from the Lions. So they'll get tested more coming up. They're at 6-3. Commanders fall to 3-7. And I mentioned the long touchdown. Why don't we hear? Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to say I'm handing over play calling permanently, and maybe it won't be permanent for Campbell either, but I'm going to hand over play calling to Eric Roberts. I don't know if your mic is on right now. And you can tell me if you think this 43-yard rushing touchdown call is worth listening to, and if the play is worth, listening to. I'll give you the play call here.
Greg, I've told you in the past, if I put it on the sheet, it's worth our time.
Let's go.
Washington on defense now. Detroit tosses it in. Gibbs right side. Inside the 20. Inside the 10. Inside the 5. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. 44 yards.
Yes, sir.
Jahmyr Gibbs putting together a day, and the Lions have opened up that lead. It is now 41-16.
Hat-trick.
Great call there by Dan Miller, Lomas Brown, and Eric Roberts.
Greg, you're so red right now.
I mean, I love it when that's my love language, is when people talk trash to me right back. That's what I need. That's what I want. That's what fuels me. And then I talk trash back to him, because sometimes some of the press conference quotes you say, if you put it on the page, it's worth it, and sometimes they're not worth it. So that's when I have to do my Dan Campbell and be like, well, we might make a change. I don't know if we want to make a change. You might say this, but we're gonna.
We're learning a little bit about Greg today. The love language. Yeah, it explains the Belichick affiliation.
Explains my marriage too. Let's go to Carolina.
3rd and 7. Saints 1 of 4 on 3rd down. Here comes some pressure. Shot out of the shotgun. Throws it deep down the far sideline, looking for Olave, who makes the catch. And Olave will just tiptoe down the sideline into the end zone for a touchdown. 3rd and 7 becomes touchdown. Chris Olave, 62 yards.
We have done 10 recaps this season. We have not heard a lot from Mike Haas on WWL, and we have not talked about a game where the New Orleans Saints went belt to axe on another team, 17-7 against the Panthers in a game that should not have been that close. They double them up in yardage. Jourdan, how did this happen?
Well, I'm really excited to talk about what actually was a pretty ugly game and where it swung in the Saints' favor. So you saw at that play, it was 10-7 Saints. There it stayed for quite some time. So guys, if you will indulge me on this, we're going to play a game, and it's interactive, okay? So perk up, Greg. When I cue you guys, you'll ask, did they get points?
Okay.
Okay, so let's practice. This is the cue.
Did they get points?
Great. Okay, so it's midway through the 3rd quarter. The Saints are still up 10-7. And Bryce Young missed Xavier Legette in the end zone after climbing the pocket to throw. The Panthers get their field goal blocked. During the block, it becomes a live ball, and the Panthers fall on it and get the ball back.
Did they get points?
No! Bryce Young and Jimmy Horn Jr. fumble in exchange, and Pete Werner recovers for the Saints at the New Orleans 17-yard line.
Did they get points?
No! Panthers outside linebacker Nick Scorton gets a big sack on Tyler Shook on 4th and 4 early in the 4th quarter to give the Panthers back the ball at their 40.
Did they get points?
Oh, come on. We got to do it together.
Bryce Young was intercepted on the next drive. It was a bad read and a bad throw. The Saints got the ball back in Panthers territory.
Did they get points?
Yes! Shook hit Juwan Johnson for a 30-yard touchdown against J.C. Horn. They went up 17-7 after the extra point, and that is where it stayed. The Saints get their second win in Tyler Shook's second start after a long middle.
Fair. I guess maybe I overstated it
Explosive
at the
plays.
beginning in terms of domination. But defensively, a day where the Saints not only force a couple turnovers, late in the game, as you talked about, but they hold Rico Dowdle to 2.9 yards per carry. Bryce Young ends up with only 124 yards and an interception. And yeah, it was a type of game that made you think the Panthers season has been great so far, and they can have great Sundays moving forward. They're 5-5. The type of game it's hard to imagine a team that's going to wind up making the NFC playoffs losing. Maybe they'll prove me wrong, but this is one you kind of can't lose.
Yeah, and meanwhile,
like this.
The things that they were doing well, you mentioned it, running the ball really effectively with Rico Dowdle. They were not doing well during this game. Bryce Young did not have a great game, made some bad throws, a couple bad reads. There was miscommunications at times between himself and Ted McMillan. Tyler Shook, on the other hand, played really well. He was 19 of 27 for 282 yards and 2 touchdowns. Big yardage from the explosive plays, like I mentioned before. He was poised. He did not fear the explosive throw. He saw the field well. A couple of big time throws. And my favorite of the bunch was this 3rd and 5 to Chris Olave that Olave drew a DPI on as he went up and got it one-handed. Let's take a look at it.
Ooh.
I mean, look at this. I told Greg to get out of his seat. Look at this.
Olave is turning it on. After a pretty slow start to the season, I feel like he has played really well. He did it with Rattler, but
yes,
it's definitely happening with Shook.
And every angle of this just shows that not only is he excellent ball skills here, but also that Shook really trusts him, that they're starting to build a little bit of chemistry together. You could definitely see that today. And by the way, this stadium, Bank of America Stadium, was where his season ended last season. And he told reporters post-game that he didn't really try to think about it and didn't want to think about it leading up to the game, but he got really, really anxious once he stepped onto the field. And just getting out there and running around and playing football made him settle back in and feel a lot better, because that was a scary, scary scene for him last year.
And good for him in a great performance where he gets that one-hander on Shaw Smith-Wade, and it needed to be one hand because Wade was fighting for his life and grabbing the other hand. And then on the touchdown pass where J.C. Horn has played great all season long, it looked like J.C. Horn not looking like an all-pro level defender on that one play, which was a rough rep for J.C. And Tyler Shough did his job. He got the ball to Chris Olave in a place where he could make a play.
Yeah, and they were hand fighting a lot, and I know Panthers fans wanted the call there. I kind of appreciated that they let them play. That's a really great corner against a really great receiver. So it was really interesting. The player of the game still to me was Derek Brown. I mean, this man is doing everything he possibly can and then some. He made a big stop on 3rd down at midfield when the game was still sort of locked at that 10-7 score. And the Saints went for it, and Derek Brown swam the defender and shot into the backfield. And if Alvin Kamara was not Alvin Kamara and made half his body go limp to avoid the tackle and then shoot underneath the blocking to convert, this play doesn't happen. And so it's I would love for Derek Brown week over week over week to have more help. J.C. Horn has played well for the most part. The linebackers are hit or miss depending on the game. It's just this is an all-time looking player and in his prime right now. And you really just need more from the offense. You need more from everybody.
And they're going to have their down weeks. They're not a complete football team. But for the Saints to put up almost 400 yards and for Shook to go 7 of 10 for 201 yards and 2 touchdowns on 3rd downs.
Yeah.
Pretty good. I thought he looked good last week.
He looked pretty dang
Patrick
good.
kind of scoffed at me. I was like, I know it was ugly, but I thought he kind of graded. He kind of did his job last week against the Rams. I was like, it was a good first performance. He's not all that matters for the Saints. They're going to have a high pick. It won't be quite as high after today. They're at 2-8, but his rest of the season is the most important thing about this team, and he's off to a good start.
If the Saints can remove some of the truly infuriating calls and decisions that they have on offense, I do think that this becomes a more complete team. The Taysom Hill stuff, just take it out.
Please.
Take it out. Especially
we don't need it.
The short yardage stuff, take it out. Throw it away. He could still be on the team and have a great time, and you can use him on some of the little sort of running back hybrid fullback packages, but stop lining him up in short yardage where everybody and their mother knows what's going to happen, and then you can't even get a yard.
Okay, a couple more things with this game. Number 1, the Survivor pick is over.
Darn.
You all wanted to take the Carolina Panthers, not a top 25 team, I think, in DVOA coming into the week. You all wanted to take them as a Survivor pick. I said, I didn't like it. I don't support it, but I had to go along with you guys.
Wait, what game did you want, Greg?
I wanted the Seattle Seahawks against the Arizona Cardinals, and you guys did not want that. So,
Your memory is an interesting place.
It's just a fact. It's literally on a podcast that everyone can listen to.
I'm
Eric.
just saying your selective memory.
Eric, I might have been reminded before.
Greg, you forget so many things frequently, but when you're right, you'll remember.
I had to remind him about it because
he just told me 30
to show
seconds
that
ago.
Greg does not listen to the bed music, the Survivor music played into the game, and then I hit him up in the middle of us, and he had the biggest oh, that's right. But yeah, no, he ended the preview show with I win either way, because if we win, we win, and then if we lose, you guys lose.
Yeah, selective memory is what we
well,
like
that comes in my ear from my excellent producer. So
But
thank you on that.
bifurcating himself and removing himself from
Terrible.
what we seek to
Terrible leadership.
here. It's not just.
It's like
it's not about leadership.
Vrabel removing himself from the personnel department when they
Guys, he likes all this. He likes us negging him.
That's true. But no, I ultimately hold myself responsible because I should have just stopped it.
That's even
Stopped
more
it from
disrespectful
happening.
of us.
It's just true. It's
now
disrespectful.
Now we've lost our
I should have
autonomy.
stopped it from happening.
What else is
The Carolina Panthers. At least they came through on our picks with Cynthia Freeland. That's 6 straight winning weeks, by the way, on that. Before we go to the next game, I did want to mention here that Paul Tagliabue passed away overnight, and he was 84 years old, and he was a commissioner of the NFL for a long time. And I thought this was a spot to do it because he did one of the best things that I've seen any commissioner in any sport do, and that's what stands out to me is Paul Tagliabue when he helped save the New Orleans Saints. Younger listeners might not remember, it was flat out reported by ESPN that the New Orleans Saints were moving to San Antonio, and Tom Benson had made a lot of moves leading up to that report after Hurricane Katrina. That he was going to take the New Orleans Saints away from that city after Hurricane Katrina, and Paul Tagliabue, according to all the reporting at the time and afterwards, stepped in there and said, that is not happening. That is, not happening on our watch. So in some part, the New Orleans Saints are still the New Orleans Saints because of Paul Tagliabue. So rest in peace to Paul Tagliabue, 84 years old. Let's go to Chicago.
Motion to the right on 2nd and 8 from the 17. Caleb Williams under center. Drags another tight end. Smythe in motion. Here's the snap of the play fake. Williams rolling to his left. Running now. 15, 10, 5. End zone. Tiptoes in. Touchdown in the blue paint. Caleb Williams. 17 yards. Took care of business himself.
He absolutely did. Throughout the fourth quarter of that game, 6 different scrambles, 3 for explosive plays. Caleb Williams gets it done with his legs, with his improvisational skills, and let's just say it, with his daring do. This Chicago Bears team, you can put them behind in the fourth quarter. They will find a way to win 24-20, 2 touchdowns in the final 4 minutes of this game. Another heartbreak loss for the New York Giants. More on that in a second, but I think you got to give some love to Caleb. When we criticize him for maybe relying too much on just making it up as he goes along and not staying in structure, I think you have to recognize the moments in a game like this one where some of the plays he was making out of structure were just incredible that maybe no other quarterback could make, and it wouldn't have been necessary maybe in these final moments if his receivers had caught some of those great plays that he made. A couple Zacchaeus drops and other ones in this game did not help Caleb Williams out, and he was not perfect, but he was a playmaker when they absolutely needed it today.
Yeah, I believe that 6 drops total for the game is the highest in any one NFL game so far this season, and I love it because it is also, we've talked a lot about, Caleb Williams and his development and Caleb Williams and learning the system and figuring out how to, be with Ben Johnson and all of it. It's the reverse also. It's Ben Johnson understanding, what are the prime moments and the exact right moments to let this guy loose and to really do the things that make him so special as a quarterback and as just someone who sees the game in this very, 7-dimensional way. It's just very, very cool. And I loved that there were snow flurries in this game, and we got all these slow motion shots of him doing these insane, plane bending things, and the snow is swirling, and the Bears fans can't even believe their good fortune. They're all bundled up and hugging each other at the game. This was a poetic game. Not if you're the Giants.
No, not
but
because
if you're
of
the Bears or the Bears fans, this was poetry.
And this was, a game where both teams had so many missed opportunities. There were 2 turnovers on downs by each team in the first half where they're going for 4th downs deep in the other team's end. One time it was at midfield for the Giants, but they're driving and they're struggling on those 4th downs. There were some crazy, decisions by the quarterbacks at times where they're almost going for too much. But ultimately, the Giants are ahead 17-7 in this game. before Jackson Dart runs for the 6th time and the final time he did on the day. And his legs were such a huge part of this game. He gets 66 yards on the ground. He's a great runner, and he scores 2 touchdowns on the ground. But he takes a shot, and he fumbles the ball while he takes a shot. And the Bears recover that play, and the game really turned there. He did not leave the game right away after that play, which is where he suffered his concussion. He re-entered the game for a couple more snaps, and he clearly wasn't right in hindsight, and then he left the game. Russell Wilson finished it out, and in the final 3 drives with Russell Wilson at the helm, the Giants had a total of 7 yards. So essentially, the Giants offense and the Bears defense against Russell Wilson gave Caleb Williams those opportunities, and he needed them because they failed to score on the first one of those post Russell Wilson drives, and they needed their defense to get him the ball back, and he did. But really a depressing loss for the Giants to go 2-8, and it just feels so familiar. And even in a game where you really feel like you found your quarterback, there's the not just the loss, but the but this guy needs to protect himself more.
Yeah, the feeling, it's familiar because the Giants have blown 4 10-plus point leads this season.
Holy cow.
So yeah, of course, the sense, the ominous dread, even when things are going right. This is a team, there's a specific type of anxiety called catastrophizing. And this is a team that is the actual embodiment of it, because at what cost? Something good happens for them. They gain some positive progress, and you just have this feeling like something is lurking and looming around the corner. That is just, I feel for Giants fans. I feel for the players. I feel for I feel for everybody, because it just feels like this is a pattern that they cannot get out of.
Well, the pattern that they were in this game was pulling tackles and guards with Jackson Dart and going straight quarterback power and having a whole lot of success. Even on the play where Dart does fumble, and him reaching and trying to get the fumble, I think was key in the way that his head actually hit the ground, which the fumble happens kind of before the ultimate injury there. And it just, to see Russell Wilson come into the game, and so to Russ's benefit, the game's not at MetLife, so they can't boo him the moment that he steps onto the field, which is something that they're doing. But everything is completely different. And I understand that Russell Wilson is a veteran quarterback that can't run like he used to, but you could still have Russ run. And Russ did scramble in this game. And to defend Russ, because Dart wasn't officially ruled out, he did have a 41-yard completion before Dart was officially ruled out. And they have a goal-to-go situation inside the 5, and they wound up getting a Younghoe Koo field goal.
Okay.
You gotta wonder, like, why is it that the offense looks so entirely different? And when the rookie quarterback is in versus the veteran quarterback, can you not make it look somewhat similar?
Well, can you run the ball? Because you might get fired tomorrow or Tuesday, and you're going to go out sorry. You're going to go out not going for it. There was a penalty on the Younghoe Koo field goal that then pushed the ball, and they were already inside the 5, but pushed the ball to the 1-yard line. And Brian Daboll, up 7 points at that point, says, we're going to take the 3 points. We're not going to take it off the board. Instead of going for the touchdown to try to win this, just try to get a yard, try to be a team. And if not, trust your defense to stop them from getting a 99-yard drive. And if not that, then you're in a tie ball game anyways. And he keeps the 3 points on. And that is Mike Tomlin, when he talks about living in your fears, that is living in your fears. And it's disappointing because Jackson Dart played awesome in this game. I am really getting convinced about Jackson Dart. Like, as great as Caleb Williams played in this game, Jackson Dart was as good in this game. Like, on the ground, but also a lot of money throws. For 55 minutes of this game, it was really such a different story. And I think they found their guy. I mean, I know it's like a small sample size, but man, he has been better than I expected. So that, kind of like Drake May last year for the Patriots, I'm not putting him at, like, I'm not saying they're the same players, but I think they got to feel pretty good, even if this is a totally lost season with a coach that gets fired like the Patriots a year ago.
Yeah, well, that the organization very clearly believes that they've found their guy, and you can feel it the way that the team previously has galvanized behind him, and they found their running back, and they galvanized behind him, and everybody is galvanizing behind these 2 players, and then all of a sudden, it is a double-edged sword because of his play style at which he is the most successful. This is the second trip to the blue tent, and obviously one went, the way of Jackson Dart would have preferred, and the other one, he clearly is in the concussion protocol. So it is something to think about when you're playing like this, and you have so much hope, and everything feels like maybe the dawn is coming around the corner. The hope is what kills you sometimes.
I know.
The Giants.
And they had so many cool creative plays, too. It was way more under center runs. It was actually way less in shotgun. They had Andrew Thomas playing tight end on the right side on one play. That was so cool. And then in the end, you have to wonder, like they set a all-time Giants road losing streak record, which Brian Dable was asked about during the week by a very gutsy reporter, Pat Leonard, who's just like, "Oh, what do you think about that?" And just okay.
I love Pat.
I
Pat
loved
has
it.
no fear. Pat is the Jackson Dart power run of beat reporters.
He is the seedy deuce of beat reporters. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is the one that forced that fumble.
Yes.
He has 3 sacks in 2 games as a member of the Chicago Bears, and it's been absolutely crucial in their winning those games.
The clock is running.
Somebody had to save DA, and it's CJ Jeter.
That is amazing. Let's take one break, and let's say goodbye to you guys. This was a lot of fun. We know why
you liked it, Greg.
Why? You came at me. We pushed, we pulled. It's all part of the beautiful cornucopia of sports.
Ah, yes. Have a good rest of the show, everybody.
Third down and 12. Brissett gets hit again. Ball bounces. Are you kidding me? It goes to D-Law again. Another touchdown. Seahawks. Holy catfish. Lightning strikes twice for the Seahawks defense. Brissett rears back to throw. Gets hit. Arms not going forward. Ball bounces right to DeMarcus Lawrence. His second touchdown of the game.
You can watch football for the next 100 years. I don't think you're going to see the same player, Tyrese Knight, in this case, force a fumble and have a defensive lineman return it for a touchdown for more than 20 yards twice in the same first half in an NFL game ever again. I mean, that is absolutely outrageous. Tyrese Knight did it in the first quarter. DeMarcus Lawrence goes 34 yards. He does it in the second quarter. DeMarcus Lawrence goes 22 yards. Wild. Steve Rabel, K-I-R-O. That was Dave Wyman, too. Yeah, DeMarcus Lawrence had a day to remember. So did the defense. 44-22. Nick Shook has joined us, and you get to describe how this Seahawks team is coming up with new and insane ways to embarrass whoever they're playing that week.
Well, first off, you're an absolute pro for teeing me up for this, because you're right. You won't see that happen twice in a game. You know why? Because DeMarcus Lawrence became the first player in NFL history with multiple defensive fumble return touchdowns of 20-plus yards.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and he joined a group of 3 other players, one happening in 1920, for just returning multiple fumbles for touchdowns.
And they both came from Tyrese Knight. Like, he made he was the better player on those. I mean, they were both great, but, he made the plays.
Shockingly identical or nearly identical, to the point where it happens the first time and you're like, oh, wow, that's great. And then it happens again. And I'm like rewinding. Like, am I watching the same play that happened before? I know the score is different. The Seahawks are a monster defensively. We've talked about this for weeks, but it felt like this may have been the first game where I watched the Seahawks take the field with nothing but aggression on their mind. Like, we are going to take the fight to the opponent. We are going to get after them relentlessly. We're going to blitz. We don't care what the repercussions could be if we don't get home, because we know we're going to get home. And they got home plenty. They wrecked the Cardinals offense. The Seahawks offense continues to be very productive. Before you knew it, blink of an eye, they're up 28-0. At one point in this game, they're up 35-0. The Cardinals were buried before they could even get out of bed. And we basically cruised from there, 44-22 your final.
Yeah, I mean, in a game where Sam Darnold ends up losing 3 turnovers in like a 5 possessions, span, and it doesn't matter at all. Like, that's how you know your team is great. Because, that 35-0, it's not like it took that long to get there. It's like early second quarter.
Midway second
happens.
quarter. Yeah.
It's insane. They had 10 quarterback hits in the game. They also had 10 passes defense. So they're filling up the stat sheet, and they just have so many different players doing it. Nick Eamon-Wari looking great. And at one point, the yardage was 210 to 32. And this is just an answer, Shook. I was unaware that there were some haters, according to Eric Roberts, is telling me, to our power rankings, putting Seahawks number 1. Apparently, the Seahawks are way lower everywhere else. And I'd like to just present this game as Exhibit A, why the haters can eat it, and why I never hear from the haters anyways.
Yeah, feather in the cap. Look who was right for at least 1 week.
For 1 week.
These two guys.
Yeah. I mean, it's the NFL. They play the Rams next week. What do you think about the fact that, Kyler Murray goes on injured reserve, and would this game been any different? Like, it's a statue of a quarterback back there, not the guy who's going to be able to get away from this sort of pass rush, Jacoby Brissett.
I mean, there are more statuesque quarterbacks in the NFL, looking at you, Joe Flacco, than Jacoby Brissett. But yes, he is not a very mobile guy. And when he does try to run, he usually gets hawked down. So that's a fair point to make. But I think that against this Seahawks defense, this might sound hyperbolic. That's fine. You can call me, I'm drinking the Seahawks Kool-Aid. I don't care. They are so good at getting pressure from so many different angles that I don't care who's playing quarterback back there, because they're going to get home, especially, against a team that's struggling to pick up blitzes like they did. The first Tyrese Knight forced fumble was a 5-man rush. The second one was a 6-man rush. They both looked identical because that's how good they are at scheming up different ways to get after the quarterback. So I don't really think it's quarterback dependent. And I will give the Cardinals a little bit of credit because they did battle in this game. They did find a way to get some things going. Jacoby Brissett was feeding Marvin Harrison Jr. 12 times, 3 connections. Harrison looking very visibly frustrated, but they did have a really nice back shoulder fade. So they stayed in the fight. But ultimately, when you fall behind by that much, and then you allow the Seahawks to call the vast majority of their plays, I believe it was, let's see, I have the number here. They called a run play 78% of the time. Like, what the script is going to be there. It's the third highest rate in a next-gen game, or in a game in the next-gen era since 2016.
That's amazing. Yeah. And you know what? They were pretty efficient doing it. So before we move from this game, just what did you see out of this running game with Ken Walker and Charbonnet?
Some quality blocking, but really tackle breaking, whether it was Charbonnet or Walker, especially Charbonnet, just running through guys. It seemed like I don't know if this is something that's new or that they had an approach. They were focused on this going into this game, but it felt like they were running with an intent to be more violent, if that makes sense. Even to the point where George Holani's getting involved, and he had 7 carries for 31 yards, but all of his runs were really hard. And it was a run by Charbonnet, a long one, where he kind of it's basically like, all right, you get the block here, you hit the hole, you're through it. Like, they're repeatedly hitting the hole with burst, which is something that they've lacked before. It wasn't, it's not like watching Jonathan Taylor run, for example, but it was really encouraging considering the fact that they've struggled to run the ball consistently.
7-2, atop the division, atop the conference, early NFC game of the year, although we kind of have one every week coming up. We also have one on Monday night. Join us on YouTube live, me and Shook, Eagles, Packers. That's going to be really fun. But next week, weirdly buried at a 4:05 window, not 4:25. It's not the national game, is Seahawks Rams. So really looking forward to that. I am sure Sam Darnold is going to have to throw the ball more than 12 times. What a bizarre stat line, by the way. 2 incompletions, 16 yards per attempt, but the 3 turnovers too. So weird game, great game. Seahawks showing they are an absolute wagon. Let's go to what I felt was one of the dumbest, most fun, ridiculous games of the entire 2025 season.
Hold on, buckle up.
37 seconds to go. 29-24, Texans trailing, 3rd and goal at the 14. Mills, shotgun, marks to his left, 2 receivers, wide side right. Here's the snap. Davis looking, Davis stepping to his left. Davis on the run, 10, Davis 5, Davis to the corner. Davis! Touchdown, Houston! The Texans take the lead on the Mills scramble. Amazing! D. Mills gets it done.
D. Mills! He stuck his neck out, and he got the win, and he got the over 212 passing yards that I put on Game Day View. Thank you, Davis Mills. Mark Vandermeer on KILT. Davis Mills was the quarterback of an NFL team, Shook, that outscored their opponent on Sunday 26-0 in the fourth quarter. True or false? True or false?
I mean, it happened. I watched it happen live. I thought there was a follow-up there. I'm more shocked. I've never heard your voice go to that range before. I'm still stunned that you could get there.
I mean, come on. You give me a chance to make a Mark Vandermeer impression, I'm going to take it. What happened? Because I joined late, and this was a lot of fun.
Okay, so late third quarter, Jags go on an 11-play, 58-yard drive. ETN finishes off with a touchdown run. It looks like they've buried the Texans. This game is over. The Texans defense can't stop them enough to make it a game. And then the Texans find a way to move the football. Davis Mills starts throwing it with zero fear for what might happen, and they get down the field, 13 plays, 65 yards, 4 minutes and 17 seconds. It's 29-18.
Okay.
What? Maybe they're only down 11? They have a shot? Because that's when the Texans defense remembered who they were. 3 and out. Get the ball back to Davis Mills. Another touchdown. Dime of a pass thrown to Dalton Schultz over 2 defenders. 3 and out again. Give Davis Mills the ball again. It's 3rd and 10. They're deep inside their own territory. Who does he look for? He breaks the pocket. He rolls right. He finds Dalton Schultz on a perfect pass that keeps that drive going. And in the biggest moment, you heard it right there, Davis Mills takes off, shows off the athleticism, and gets into the end zone. And by the end of this game, when the game finally ended with a Sheldon Rankins fumble return for a touchdown, Liam Cohen was so angry. He threw his play sheet. He threw his headset. He tried to walk toward where he'd thrown it as if he couldn't get off the field faster if he wanted to. There goes the headset. If you're watching on YouTube, he ends up throwing the play sheet. Boom, gone. Now he goes to the belt. Drop the belt.
All three.
Drop the headset. I might as well start taking clothes off at this point. That's how upset I am with the way this game went. And it was all because of the Texans and their willingness to battle, baby.
You saw the assistant that was behind him that immediately starts picking it up. And then you see Liam see the assistant picking it up. And then so he goes and picks up part of the other because he's feeling bad that he's making his assistant pick it up. And he was not happy. Let's listen to Liam Cohen after the game.
The whole message was to squeeze the life out of these guys in the second half and go take it. And it's been a frustration for a while now, obviously, the combination of lack of getting to the quarterback, and when we do, finishing it. But it definitely needs to continue to get evaluated and see who can help us do those things too.
Yeah, so they haven't been getting much of a pass rush. It's interesting. He called that out specifically. In the end, the Texans almost doubled up the Jags in yards, 412 to 213. And anytime you outscore an opponent 26-0 in the fourth quarter, like that's a candidate for one of the craziest games of the year. When you do it in this fashion with Davis Mills, running for a touchdown after you have 1st and goal at the 2-yard line, and then you end up at 2nd and goal on the 14-yard line because you're just Texaning it up with all these penalties to move you back, and then Davis Mills runs it in, of all things. And then when that's followed up by just one of the most delightful ways to finish a game of the season, that's where you get into special territory. Let's listen.
3-man rush, it appears. On 1st and 20 for the Jags from their 35. Lawrence in the gun, bunch formation left. 7 seconds to go. Here's the snap to Trevor Lawrence. Backing up, stepping up. Lawrence tripped up. The ball is out. The Texans have it. Across the 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Houston. Rankins. Game over. The Texans win it. Houston comes all the way back to defeat the Jaguars. The Texans have changed their season around with a dramatic comeback for the ages.
I love it, and I believe it. They needed this win to get to 4-5. I mean, that chef's kiss for that to be the final play. But also, what was Trevor Lawrence doing there again? What was happening on that?
Trying to break the pocket and find somebody downfield. Here's the thing, 2 plays prior, maybe it was a play prior, he actually threw a really good ball to the sideline that would have put them in Cam Little's range. Gets called back for illegal hands to the face. The 6th lineman got his hands in the face, and that was because they couldn't stop the Texans pass rush in the fourth quarter. Danielle Hunter, 3.5 sacks, tied a career high. He was a big part of it, so was Will Anderson. So at that point, Lawrence has nothing left to do but try to find somebody downfield with the clock essentially expiring.
Oh, you're too kind to him.
And there you go. You get the turnover that ends the game. Although Sheldon Rankins almost got the Leon Lett treatment. Like there was a little bit of Don Beebe chasing him down there. Good thing he got across the goal line.
Barely got across, but you're too kind to him. You watched the whole game. But Trevor Lawrence, that's a play. They're trying to get to the sideline to get into Cam Little's range. They have 7 seconds left. And obviously at that point, after the penalty, it's a long shot. They're at their own 35. But you get like 15 yards there, you give Cam Little a chance. You get 10 yards there, you give Cam Little a chance. It looked like we were going to have a Cam Little attempt. And you got to get rid of that ball quickly. And he sees that the sideline routes are covered. You just got to give your guy a chance. You just got to throw it. You just got to throw the ball. And if you don't throw it to them, you just got to throw it away to at least set up for one more final play. The thing you can't do is just kind of freeze and hold the ball. And that's kind of a Trevor Lawrence-y type of play.
Yeah, and as that play was unfolding, I'm watching the clock and I'm thinking, even if they complete it, they're screwed. Like they're cooked. And that's what happened.
The Texans are 4-5. The Jags are 5-4, and yet they feel so different. The Jags, after their hot 3-0 start, have really come back to the pack. Even the running game wasn't consistent today, although it rarely is against the Texans. And the Texans have the Titans next week. And they have maybe the best defense in the league, and they're in a conference where maybe the 7 seed could sneak in there, and they get to 5-5. So that really does feel like, at least for now, a season-saving win for the Texans. Let's move on to a game where neither team is saving their season, at least not in this season, but it doesn't mean that we can't have a little bit of fun.
So Isaiah Williams back deep to receive the punt of Bojorquez. And once again, he'll kick it away from inside his own 20-yard line. Again, returnable. Running right with a flag down. Williams at the 26-yard line. He gets loose down the sideline at the 50. Cuts it back left to the 40. He's at the 30. He'll go all the way. 10-5, touchdown. The Jets with their second consecutive kick return touchdown. Kene Nwangwu for 99 yards. And now Isaiah Williams does the trick for 76.
Pretty rare you see 2 straight return touchdowns. And I bet it's even rarer if the team that pulls that off loses the game. At that point, I didn't care what the score was. I was like, they're going to win this game one way or another. It was close. The Jets win 27-20. That was Bob Wischusen on WAXQ. For clarity, that was Isaiah Williams on a punt return touchdown. And yeah, Kene Nwangwu had a 99-yard kickoff return touchdown earlier in the first quarter. So on a day, Shook, where Justin Fields had 54 passing yards, the Jets win pretty comfortably because it was a Browns field goal late that even made it a one-score game.
Yeah, just another research note while I have it up in front of me. They beat the Browns today despite having only 42 net passing yards. It's the fewest passing yards by the Jets in a win since week 5 of 1973.
Wow.
All right? And that's back when they barely threw the ball. The forward pass was barely even invented. I'm kidding, of course. This game was really weird because those return touchdowns obviously were vital to your final score, but it was also right after the Browns had led a 9-play, 95-yard touchdown drive. That was one of the most impressive drives I've seen from them all season, especially when it came to how Dylan Gabriel led that drive. Instantly, within 2 returns, the Jets have full command of the momentum of this game. They're at home, and the Browns are back to square one, having to try to climb back into this game, which they ultimately did not do. It gave the Jets, a team that had every reason in the world to lay down and just sleepwalk through this game after they traded away 2 of their best players at the deadline and signaled that if it's not a teardown, we're looking toward the future and not this season. Instead, they came out and battled. They fought through adversity. They couldn't throw the football. They couldn't get anything going offensively, so the return game gets involved. Then the defense is all over the Browns quarterbacks and everything else. And then Breece Hall finishes it off. A complete win, not statistically, but visually, a complete all 3 phases of the game win for the Jets.
Yeah, it's interesting. The guy that they didn't trade away, Breece Hall, and they didn't have a high success rate by any means. Neither running game did, but he ends up with 83 yards on the ground because he did have a big run, and then he has a 42-yard touchdown catch that comprised almost all of Justin Fields' passing yards for the day. The second leading receiver for the Jets was Isaiah Williams with 4 yards. Crazy.
Tied with Mason Taylor. 1 catch, 4 yards. 1 yard ahead of John Mechie. 1 catch, 3 yards. That's where the whole offense was.
Okay, this is the type of loss that if Kevin Stefanski is going to be on the hot seat, if the GM is going to be on the hot seat, like this is the type of loss that would do it. Losing to the Jets, even if it helps out your situation in terms of the draft. As a Browns fan, what disappointed you here?
Oh God. Well, I mean.
Where to start?
Yeah, it was really the fashion in which this game ended. You know that the Browns defense is going to keep them in the game, and then they're going to eventually run out of gas in the fourth quarter, which is what happened on that Brees Hall screen. But it was the way that the defense and the game ended, because the Browns need one stop. They have all 3 timeouts. They get it down outside the 2-minute warning. They're about to get the stop, and then there's a holding call on 3rd and 16 on Devin Bush. And then that gets the Jets a new fresh set of downs. And then they take it to the 2-minute warning. And the Browns, they still have a timeout or 2 left. And then they get another stop, and it's 4th and 4. And the Browns jump off sides and give them another fresh set of downs and never get the ball back. They would have had the ball back with 30 or 40 seconds at the most. But the fact that they committed 2 penalties and 2 crucial downs and never even saw the football again, this game to me, and I've been one of those people that have just said, hey, the Browns are not playing for this year. It's very clear. This was the first time I've seen them lose a game this year in which I thought, I could see somebody getting fired tomorrow. Now, it's probably your special teams coordinator, Bubba Ventrone, because of the returns that they've given up and the miscues that they've had on that side of the ball. But I could definitely see somebody losing their job because of how bad they looked at the end of this game.
Disappointing and exciting for the Jets. I do think there is a best case scenario where they win a few games down the stretch and at least feel like they're headed in the right direction. And it's okay. You know, the loss knocks them down to number 5 in terms of their pick in terms of Tankathon. The Browns are at 4. We're going to have a lot of Titans and Raiders games, up in Jets and Browns households to see who ends up getting that number 1 overall pick. We will see. But the Jets win 2 straight, and the Browns lose coming out of the bye. Let's take one last break, and then we will get to Sunday night football. Fun one, Chargers and the Steelers. Could be fun, even if it's low scoring.
Hopefully.
Herbert hands to Kimani. Kimani into the end zone. Touchdown, Chargers. Kimani Vidal rewarded for all those hard runs earlier today with the score. And the Chargers are up 21-3.
He's getting it done in pass protection. He's getting it done on the goal line. It's Kimani Vidal, Troy's own, Patrick Claybon's favorite player in the NFL, in for a touchdown to give the Chargers an insurmountable lead in a laugher on Sunday night. The Chargers win, Nick Shook, 25-10 in a game that Justin Herbert didn't even have to be Superman. He was just a normal man, and that's because his defense kept setting him up, and eventually the dam broke in that running game, and the Chargers offense took care of the rest of it.
Yeah, what a testament to cohesive defense by the Chargers tonight, because if you dive into the numbers, it's not like they were getting after Aaron Rodgers on every play. They played phenomenal coverage. They largely bottled up the run, save for a few highlight runs, the Jaylen Warren hurdle being one of them. They just played a complete game on that side of the football, and because of that, they were able to take a low-scoring, some might say boring or unexciting affair and turn it into a lopsided victory, and one that I don't think I saw coming. Not given the fact that they had some offensive line losses. I thought they were going to struggle like Daniel Jones and the Colts did against the Steelers a week earlier. Nope, not at all. They got the job done.
Yeah, and it's not like they protected Herbert that well. He got hit. He got pressured a lot. Their starting tackles in this game were Pipkins and Austin Deculus. Deculus was struggling, but they weren't in 3rd and long too often. They stuck with the run, even when it wasn't working. And you say it's a boring game. I say it could never be boring for any Aaron Rodgers haters to be watching him have perhaps his worst game that he's ever had in primetime. He looked so old in this game. Going into that garbage time drive, they'd only scored 3 points, Nick Shook. And those 3 points came on a 3-and-out that was set up by a short field. He had a pressure to sack ratio of all of them for much of the game. It was like if there was pressure, there was a sack. Yeah. He was dirtying the ball. He's avoiding pressure. It just was disgusting. And when you think about the 2 big turning points in the first half of this game, the biggest one to me was his interception just before the 2-minute warning when the Steelers are still leading the game. Or they're right there, rather. It's 5-3, and that sets up the Chargers touchdown right before halftime. And then the first Chargers score of the game, let's listen to it.
3 on the play clock. Rodgers has time, climbing the pocket. Here comes Khalil Mack in the end zone. He drops him. Safety. Oh, raise your hands and put them together. The Chargers got 2 points. And what a way to cement a legacy that only he and Kevin Green have. That is his 35th sack as a Charger. He and Green, the only 2 players to do it with 3 different franchises.
Ooh, that's a good stat. Great job, by the way, on both those calls by Matt Money Smith, our friend Daniel Jeremiah. Just quiet again on KFI. It is a reminder, Khalil Mack was awesome for an extended period of time for 3 different teams. You don't see that too often. Kevin Green's in the Hall of Fame. Khalil Mack will join him one day. What did you think about Rodgers just being so stymied throughout this game?
I hate that this is the case. I mean, if you're an Aaron Rodgers hater, you'll love this, but it seems like every week Aaron Rodgers is pissed off at his teammates the entire game. And he was very upset with them for most of this game. And I think it's a combination of guys aren't getting open, guys aren't running the routes specifically how I want them to run them. I'm not getting protected long enough to be able to do what I want to do. And I also think it's him grappling with the idea of father time. Not to say that he looks exceptionally old, but when he tries to get mobile, unless there's ample space, because he'll still roll out and flick it, and get it downfield. But when he's under duress, it looks bad now. It did not look bad earlier in his career. And, it should look bad for a 41-year-old. It felt like it discombobulated him all night. He never felt comfortable. And oftentimes guys just weren't open. Whatever the Steelers were trying to do offensively, scheme-wise, just wasn't working against this Chargers defense until they scored a touchdown late in the game. And I think that is a repeat case of what we've seen far too often with this team. You can go back to that game against the Packers in primetime. Similar situation where Rodgers, again, is just frustrated with the outcome and the fact that he can't do what he wants to do. So a tough spot for them. They're very up and down right now offensively.
Yeah. He held the ball longer tonight, a little bit, and he went down the field a few more times, and he missed a couple shots deep that could have changed the game. And so when he's trying to make a play, he wasn't able to make them. And they're just a limited offense. Now, the Calvin Austin drop that turned into an interception, that's all obviously on Calvin Austin. The game's basically over at that point. Ultimately, they had 9 drives, Shook, before those last couple that I'm talking about in terms of the interception and the garbage time touchdown. They had 4 first downs on those 9 drives. I mean, it's not NFL offense, and Jaylen Warren is easily their offense's best player, but DK Metcalf has not gotten it on track at all as a consistent weapon. And you have to give the Chargers defense credit. Jesse Minter and this Chargers defense, they've been on a journey this season. It's like it has absolutely been a roller coaster. But getting some of their best players back, especially Khalil Mack, and then having an extra pass rusher in Odafe Owe absolutely helping. Derwin James is back to playing well. And like I mentioned, it wasn't even a great Herbert game, but 3 straight weeks, Nick, the Chargers have essentially dominated the line, not the line of scrimmage, but dominated play, where they doubled up their opponents the last 2 weeks and almost doubled up them in yardage and definitely doubled them up in first downs. And again, until the garbage time, it was the same tonight. So they've just been significantly the better team in 3 straight games against the Vikings, Titans, and Steelers. They are different. They're not the same old Chargers. Consider they are a Jim Harbaugh team. I don't know if they're going to win the Super Bowl, but miss me with the same old Chargers. They're just a tougher team, and the fact that they've come out of a little mini slump to get to 7-3 is really impressive.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought up the Harbaugh point, because that's what I was going to say, is that this team has taken on the identity of its coach. We saw it, last year, but it's really carrying over week to week. And the cool thing about this team that makes me frustrated as somebody who's picking games every week and consistently getting them wrong no matter who's playing, whether it's the Chargers or any other team in the NFL. But what frustrates me is the fact that they do this in different fashions, which should be encouraging to Chargers fans. Because you think about the Vikings game, they were dominant in that game, offensively dominant. Herbert was on fire. Everything went well for them on both sides of the ball. The Titans game, a little close for comfort. They get the win and everything, but it wasn't the prettiest win. They lose Joe Alt in that game, so you saw the effect on Herbert.
But some fluky return touchdowns,
yes,
to be fair.
But then this game, completely different from those last 2 games, where they leaned on the run stubbornly, and they played a great game defensively. And I think that while it makes them difficult to predict how they might play from week to week and opponent by opponent, they can win in different ways. That should be really encouraging.
You got a quarterback, you got a coach, and you got a team that's figuring out how to play together. It's going to give them a chance each and every week. Whereas Pittsburgh, they have a coach, but they're not great situationally. And they made some adjustments defensively. We'll see how that works. They are only one game up on the Baltimore Ravens after that lead was a whole lot bigger 4 weeks ago. So they fall to 5-4. They still got 2 games left to face the Ravens. Also want to just give a shout out, a congratulations to Keenan Allen, the all-time leader in receptions in Chargers history, passing Antonio Gates. We mentioned it, remember, Shook, back in week 1, as this could be a possible milestone that he could reach this season. And after 1 week, we said, wow, maybe he will be able to do it. Hell, he did it by week 10. So cool to do it in prime time. An all-time great Charger and a big part of this team. They lost Aronde Gadsden Jr. to an injury at one point in this game. He did not return, so we'll track that during the week. But obviously, a great night for the Los Angeles Chargers. Great night for us, Shook. We will be back. Check us out Monday night. We appreciate everyone that's been joining us live on YouTube, and it is a really fun game, Eagles and Packers. So we'll see everyone then. Hit the music, Babona. Let's go. What are we waiting for? We're home. It's been fun. This was a frisky week 10. We learned a lot about myself, about the MVP conversation, about what my love language is. But yes, Shooky and I will be back on YouTube live, and check us out for the Monday night recap. See you then.